So there's still loads, absolutely loads you can sow. It's the start of autumn, but you can still sow loads of things. Don't give up on the season yet. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So my name is Motin Ali and this is my family garden. And on this channel we grow all our fruits and vegetables in our backyard. If you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe and ring the bell. Make sure you ring the bell for regular notifications so you know when I put a video out. So keep watching and I'm going to show you what you can sow in September at the start of autumn. So there's a number of seeds that you can still sow, some in the greenhouse and some outdoors, and I'm going to show you both of what you can sow, whether you've got a greenhouse, whether you haven't. So these were on my list of things to sow last month, Radicchio and Endive. These are two seeds that I sowed in a seed bed last month and I'm going to pot them out this month. But if you wanted to, you can still sow these directly outside. They're a bitter tasting plant, but they're still good to sow and they'll keep you going through winter. So I've got lots of seeds already growing here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sow some more lettuces. And these are lettuce Arctic King, and these are a great autumn variety. Some of the loose leaf varieties and some of the cost lettuces will still do well now, but some of the red lettuces might struggle a little bit because they need a little bit more light than the green lettuces. So that's one little tip to bear in mind. So I've got lots of seedlings already on the go. I've got lettuces, I've got radicchio growing. In this tray I've got a load of pak choi growing and these are going to go direct outside. I've got some mabuna growing and I've got these wonderful, really pretty coloured leaves here. You can see the pink, you can see the purple and the green together. And these are a plant called amsoy. They're a really nice Indian mustard that you can grow over winter, and they're a really nice cold hardy leaf to add to your salad. So that's one you can still sow now. Sow these in prepared seed trays and then plant them out. They're cold hardy, so they'll do okay outside. You've still got at least 6 weeks, so you should be able to get a harvest from these. So I've been removing some of my tomato plants because my tomato plants got blight, and when they get blight there's no point keeping the tomato plants in the ground anymore. Just here I've removed lots of tomato plants and I've got lots of empty space now. There's a couple of weeds that I need to get out, fine. So what I'm going to do in this space is I'm going to sow some radishes directly into the ground. And the type of radishes that I'm going to sow, so I'm going to go for a fast maturing variety, things like radish French breakfast. These can be harvested in about 4 to 6 weeks. Because the soil's still warm, these will germinate really, really quickly. So let's just sow a line of these into the ground. And so just gently cover those seeds up again and that's it, done. Job's a good one. So that space isn't going to waste. I've pulled my tomato plants out and straight away I'm getting something else into the ground. If you're going to plant radishes outdoors, go for a fast maturing variety. But there's still time to plant long rooted radishes. These require a longer season, but if you're going to sow these, outside's not the place. So if you've got a greenhouse, then you can still grow long muli. So I've got loads of chili plants in here, and these chili plants are really still going strong. And they're starting to ripen, and they're going to take probably till the end of September, October, a start of autumn before the first frost, before they're all fully ripened, and they start shedding the leaves. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undersow these chili plants with some radishes. So underneath the chili plants, I'm just going to sow some of these long radishes. These take probably 2 to 3 months to reach maturity. But because I'm undersowing them, what's going to happen is they're going to start sprouting because the soil's warm, so they'll sprout relatively quickly. And as the chili plants start dropping their heat, as the chili plants start dropping their leaves, these radishes will start taking over and filling the space. So as the chili plants drop their leaves, these radishes will be able to rise up and take the place, and they'll be able to benefit from the light that the chili plants are vacating. Because they're cold hardy, these will keep growing in the greenhouse for a good few months, and I can get a harvest of radishes through winter. So it's the same thing with the salad leaves that I showed you. The pak choys, the tat soys, the am soys. Do the same procedure that I've just done. Undersow your plants in your greenhouse with those, and as these die back, they'll just rise up and fill and take over the space, and you'll be able to get a harvest all the way through winter. So last month I sowed loads of chard outside, and I'm going to have chard, and I'm going to be able to sow that all the way through. I'm going to be able to harvest and pick at that all the way through winter. But if you haven't sowed any chard already outside, it might be a little bit too late to get it to maturity outside, because ideally what you want is seeds that were sown last month and they're growing through September to maturity, and then they've got that strength to go through winter. But if you've got a greenhouse, it's ideal to get some chard sown either into the beds or into pots directly into the greenhouse, and they'll pop up, and these will keep you going through winter, and you'll get a harvest through winter of little salad leaves, and hopefully with the protection in here, these will get all the way to maturity. So in July and August, I sowed loads and loads of overwintering onions, things like Senshu onions that are one of the most popular varieties around. Now my young plants are growing on, I'm going to get these sown into the ground. But if you haven't got young plants already established, now's the time to sow your overwintering bulbs. September's a brilliant time for overwintering bulbs. Some of the sowing guides might tell you to sow garlic towards the end of this month outside. I prefer to sow garlic in October. That still gives it plenty of time before the frost set in, and it gives it a plenty long enough cold season for the bulb to split. So I like to actually go for garlic in October. That way my beds are a lot more freer as well, and I've got more space to work in. So as you're starting to empty your beds and you're starting to have clean space in your beds, don't leave your beds uncovered for winter. Get some cover crops sown into the ground now. Because it's still warm, your cover crops will germinate, and they'll keep your beds protected all through winter. Things like winter rye and mustards. So I've done a great video on cover crops, the different varieties of cover crops and what they're used for. I'll leave a link to it up here. Do go and check that out. It's really beneficial. So get your cover crops planted and your green manures planted as you're emptying space into your garden beds. So that brings me on nicely to another seed that you can either grow as a cover crop or you can grow as a harvest for next year. And these are my broad beans, or fava beans as the Americans like to call them. And these I'm growing from my own saved seed. Most varieties, I mean, people will tell you to grow Aqua Dolce as an overwintering variety. Most varieties will overwinter quite well outside. So what I'm going to do in the majority of the area, I'm going to sow my cover crops. But towards this one side here, I'm going to sow some broad beans. And I always like sowing some legumes in my cover crop mix. Remember, broad beans are a nitrogen fixer. Legumes, then that fix nitrogen, so they take nitrogen out of the air, fix it to the soil. Now, even if I don't get a crop off these, they're improving my soil, and that's what it's all about at this time of the year. But don't worry, I'm still expecting to get a decent crop off these. There we go, they're in. So I hope you found that beneficial. If you did, make sure you hit the like and subscribe, and you'll get those regular updates if you ring the bell. I also make videos on Patreon, so if you'd like to support this channel, you can go over to my Patreon link. I'll leave a link for it at the end of this video, and there's lots of bonus content on there. So if you want to support this channel, that's a great way of doing it. So I'll leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.